Hello and welcome to Wexford County Council's Community Climate Action Programme presentation. This presentation has been created to inform organisations on the eligibility and evaluation criteria, as well as the application process for Phase 2. The Community Climate Action Programme is funded by the Department of Climate, Energy and the Environment. My name is Sandra Martin and I am Wexford County Council's Community Climate Action Officer. It's important to give a little context as to why the Community Climate Action Programme, or CAP for short, has been introduced. Ireland is aiming to become a climate neutral country by 2050 as part of the global initiative Net Zero 2050. Climate neutral means that the amount of greenhouse gases emitted into the atmosphere is equal to the amount removed. Furthermore, Ireland has committed to achieve a 7% on average reduction in overall greenhouse gases each year between 2021 and 2030. As part of this initiative, the government wished to engage local communities to mobilise action at a local level. Each local authority has a climate action team, which in Wexford is made up of the following. We have our climate action coordinator, Frank Burke. There's the climate action officer, Claire Kelly. The community climate action officer, myself, Sandra Martin. We have a biodiversity officer, Claire Goodwin, an energy officer, Joe Fallon, and we have Geraldine Cullen in the office in administration. Together, our team work within the local authority and with communities throughout County Wexford in achieving these goals. The programme is funded by the Department of Climate, Energy and the Environment, and it aims to support and empower communities to shape and build low-carbon, sustainable communities in a coherent way to contribute to the national climate and energy targets. It also aims to promote and assist in the scale-up of community climate action from the respective starting points of the communities. Phase 1 was between 2021 and 2024, and Wexford County Council was allocated 669,000 from the department, and this was distributed among 16 successful projects throughout the county. Further details of these projects can be found on Wexford County Council's website. We are now entering Phase 2 of the programme, and we have been allocated a further 669,000 to be distributed to not-for-profit groups throughout County Wexford. The grant funding under the programme is called the Community Climate Action Fund, and it allows for up to 100% funding for qualifying projects. There are 3 bands to this funding: small scale for projects with a cost of up to €20,000, medium scale for projects with a cost of between €20,000 and €50,000, large scale for projects with a cost of between €50,000 and €100,000. The maximum amount of funding available for any one application is €100,000. The allocation guidelines from the department are 10% of the fund to be allocated to small scale projects, 40% for medium scale and 50% for large scale projects. There are clear guidelines set down by the department as to what constitutes an eligible project, and they are projects that seek to demonstrate the delivery of national climate action at local level by reducing or supporting the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, by increasing the production or use of renewable energy, that improve energy efficiency, that increase climate resilience, that identify nature-based projects that enhance biodiversity and seek to reduce or increase removal of greenhouse gas emissions or support climate resilience, that assist communities impacted by the transition to a low-carbon economy, and that involve potentially innovative solutions to address the above tasks. So who can apply for the programme? Well, eligible organisations are only those that are not-for-profit organisations. They are located within the operational area of Wexford County Council. They submit an application form for a qualifying project on or before the closing date, and they are registered with the PPN, or alternatively, they are connected with another collective such as the Wheel or Tidy Towns, and or a community group that have an article of association or a constitution and hold an AGM and have approved minutes available. There is only one application per organisation permitted. Groups then that are not eligible are private individuals, commercial undertakings including sole traders, and national community or environmental organisations. Eligible projects will address the following 5 themes. Number 1, community energy. Number 2, travel. Number 3, food and waste. Number 4, shopping and recycling. And number 5, local environmental action. Applicants are encouraged to take climate action across as many themes as possible. And the larger the body of funding that is being applied for, the more themes that project is expected to address. Theme 1, community energy. Many Irish buildings have very low energy ratings and high running costs, mainly due to heat loss. How we heat our buildings and the heat lost from them account for 10% of Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions. How we build, heat and run our buildings can play a big part in reducing Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions. We can make our buildings more energy efficient by retrofitting them, by switching off and by using low energy lights or appliances and using smart controls. The department is interested in funding projects that will use less energy, use renewable energy and avoid heat loss. Example of some project elements that would address these issues would be retrofitting community buildings, introducing renewable energy measures such as solar, hydro or wind, or upgrading the lighting to LEDs or installing community electric vehicle charging points. Theme 2, travel. How we travel is one of the main areas where behaviour change can have a rapid and real impact on achieving our climate goals. Transport accounts for approximately 20% of Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions. The department are interested in funding projects which contribute to emission reductions related to travel and influence behaviour change across the community. Example of project elements that would address this theme would be improving access to cycleways or active travel routes to school, so connecting areas within a community, introducing cycle parking facilities, or the purchase of community electric vehicles, example electric bikes or e-cargo bikes. It should be noted that the department will not fund for the purchase of community electric cars or minivans. Theme 3, food and waste. It takes a lot of resources to put food on our tables. Growing, processing and transporting food all use large amounts of energy and materials. It is estimated that a third of the food we grow is wasted, and food waste accounts for 10% of global emissions. In Ireland, there is a national commitment to reducing food waste by 50% by the year 2030. At a systems, community and lifestyle level, there are opportunities to connect and engage people in the action on food waste and climate change. The department are interested in funding projects that reduce food waste, and some examples of some project elements that would address this theme are community composting facilities, community allotments or gardens that promote local food production, community fridges, and local food markets. Theme 4, shopping and recycling. What we buy has a major contribution to emissions in terms of how they are made, transported, used, reused, and recycled. Ireland is moving towards creating a circular economy, making products that last longer, can be repurposed, reused, and eventually recycled more easily. One of our climate goals is to increase the amount of waste that is recycled and to make all packaging reusable or recyclable by 2030. The department are interested in funding projects that increase the variety and number of recycling facilities available within the communities and initiatives that are aimed at reducing, reusing, or recycling. Some project elements that would address this theme would be community repair hubs, swap shops for items such as toys, books, musical instruments, costumes, or sports gear, water filling stations that would help reduce the use of single plastics, and introduction of recycling facilities. Theme 5, local and environmental action. Ireland has an abundance of natural resources, from our bogs and forests to our rivers and oceans. These natural resources need to be protected from climate change, and in return they will help us by absorbing carbon, reducing the risks of flooding, increasing flowers and wildlife, and acting as places for us all to reconnect with nature. The department are interested in funding projects that will take an holistic approach to managing the local environment or the introduction of mitigating measures in relation to climate action. Some project elements that would address this theme are attenuation ponds, the planting of mini forests or dispersed or community orchards or pollinator projects, introduction of roof or community gardens, and some climate resilience projects. So moving on to how applications will be evaluated. Wexford County Council use an external board for the evaluation of CCAP applications. Members of this board are from outside County Wexford so as to ensure there is no affiliation between a board member and an applicant. The board assesses the applications against the 6 evaluation criteria set down by the Department of Climate, Energy and the Environment. These 6 evaluation criteria are weighted, and I will go through that on the next slide, but it should be noted that each of the criteria is scored independently, and so clear and detailed answers for each of them is strongly recommended, as the board can only award marks for what is provided on the application form. The 6 evaluation criteria are in relation to your project proposal and your organisation. Number 1, relevance and impact. How does your project contribute to a low carbon community? And have you clearly demonstrated the impact it will have towards national energy and climate targets? Number 2, innovation and scalability. Does your project demonstrate practical innovation? Does it have the potential to either be scaled up or replicated? Will the project have a lasting impact? You will note there is a red asterisk beside this criteria, and the word replicated is in red and bold. For applications under the small grant funding scale, so projects up to a value of €20,000, these projects do need to show that their project can be replicated, but they do not need to demonstrate that it is innovative or scalable. Number 3, value for money. Are the project costs reasonable? Are they an efficient use of resources? Have you provided realistic, specific and relevant outcomes which are commensurate with the level of investment? Number 4, achievability. Does your organisation have the expertise to deliver the project on time? Have you provided a clear proposal? Have you identified the key milestones? And have you provided an explanation as to how it will be monitored? Number 5, partnership approach. Any partner or consortium roles and responsibilities are clearly outlined with partnership agreements in place where applicable. The proposal demonstrates how all the key stakeholders will be involved in the planning and implementation of the proposal. If your organisation will apply as sole applicants but will receive advice or support from another organisation or expert within the community, outline that assistance here under partnership approach. Number 6, governance arrangements. Any necessary governance and financial management systems, controls and processes are in place to meet the requirements of the programme. Have you provided evidence of tax compliance and registration with any relevant bodies? Outline details of any track record your organisation has in managing other state funding. The weighting of the evaluation criteria. The maximum overall score available is 100. Only applications that score 50% or above, as well as meeting the minimum score required under the selected criteria, will be considered for funding. The selected criteria as set down by the DCEE are as follows. Relevance and impact. This has a weighting of 30% with a minimum requirement of 15%. Innovation and scalability. This has a weighting of 20%. There is no minimum requirement here. Value for money. This has a weighting of 20% with a minimum requirement of 10%. Achievability has a weighting of 10% and a minimum requirement of 5%. Partnership approach. This has a weighting of 10% with no minimum requirement. And governance arrangements has a weighting of 10% with a minimum requirement of 5%. Preparing your project and application. You need to have a think about what project do you want to do. While projects that address more than one theme will be elevated, any themes that you do address in your project proposal need to be done so in a meaningful way. Each organisation is unique, and the grounds and the buildings of each organisation is different. The stage where each organisation is at and the resources and volunteers available to them are also unique. So project proposals and the themes that they address need to be realistic and achievable to the organisation. You need to have a think about how each project element addresses each of the evaluation criteria. If a project proposal has 4 elements to it, then each element has to be taken into consideration in relation to the evaluation criteria. For example, how is each project element relevant and provide impact? How is each element of the project providing value for money? You need to gather all your paperwork, such as any planning permissions that you require. If you don't own the building, Do you have a lease? Leases need to be in place for a minimum of 5 years after the project completion. Do you have the relevant insurance organised? Are you tax registered? Do you have tax clearance? Do you need to be registered with any other relevant bodies? And you need to gather your team. Funding under this programme is provided to complete a project, so it requires project management skills. This will be more achievable the more people that are on board to help and spread the workload. Costs. Only capital costs are eligible. For example, the shelving and materials to establish a swap shop or repair hub are eligible, but any costs in operating them are not. Quotations. Seek at least 3 or 4 like-for-like quotations. If you ask one contractor to quote for 5 specific windows in your community building, then ask the same of all other contractors. Do not ask for a specific quote from one contractor and then a general quote from the other contractors. You also need to bear in mind that the earliest your project can start, if you are successful in your application, is May 2026. Start compiling your project pack. You will be required to retain documentation in relation to this programme for a minimum of 7 years. So begin as you mean to go on and start a digital or physical file for all information relating to this programme so that any requested documentation is easily retrievable. Completing the form. You can look at the form in advance by going to the CCAP page on wexfordcountycouncil.ie website, and you can start to gather your supporting documentation. Applications will be accepted during the application window beginning on the 21st of October, online only through the platform submit.com. The application window for Phase 2 of the Community Climate Action Programme will commence on Tuesday the 21st of October 2025. It will remain open for 8 weeks until 5 p.m. on Tuesday the 16th of December. This will be followed by an 8-week evaluation and selection period. A list of recommended projects will then be forwarded to the Department of Climate, Energy and the Environment, where they will further evaluate them for a period of 6 weeks. Once the department has provided approval, notification letters will be issued. It is expected that all applicants will be notified if they were successful or unsuccessful at the beginning of April 2026. Successful applicants will then move forward and enter an agreement with Wexford County Council, where they will have 18 months to complete their projects in full. There will be a pre- and post-site inspection carried out, and the project milestones are important. There will be regular check-ins with myself to ensure they are staying on track. Delays do happen. Contractors can let you down. There can be weather impacts. Things can just take longer than anticipated, so you need to prepare for that. Move quickly to get quotations and get the ball rolling as soon as possible. Accessing funds. You will need to pay for the project costs up front and submit a claim to recoup monies after the works have been completed and paid for. You may need to look into bridge financing, and there are numerous providers available. Funding is only available for costs that are incurred after acceptance onto the programme. Any works completed prior to acceptance are ineligible. There will be a pre-work site inspection carried out. You can leverage other grant funding. You cannot, however, receive duplicate funding. Furthermore, projects where funding is leveraged must be able to stand on their own merit and be independently completed in full. You will need a minimum of 3 like-for-like quotations. It is recommended you seek at least 4 or 5, as you might not receive a quotation from everyone you ask. If there is any one element of the project that costs €50,000 or more, a minimum of 5 quotations will be required. All claims for costs must be accompanied by an invoice and a separate receipt made out to the organisation, as well as a copy of the bank statement showing payment to the supplier. As mentioned previously, only capital costs are eligible. Any costs incurred for professional reports or audits, any staffing or administration costs, or operational costs, etc., are not eligible under this grant funding. Your organisation must comply with state aid requirements. You can submit a claim for elements of your project that are fully completed. You do not need to wait until the project is completed in full. However, all claims are subject to a retention by Wexford County Council until all elements of the project are completed in full. Wexford County Council recently took part in a webinar with Community Climate Action Officers of Carlow, Kilkenny and Waterford County Council. This webinar is available through the CCAP page on Wexford County Council's website. During the webinar, we each interviewed a recipient of funding under the Phase 1 of the CCAP, and the following key pieces of advice were identified. Careful. It is advised that you read the application form and accompanying documentation carefully. Prepare. Get all your supporting documentations, planning permissions, leases, insurances, etc., organised well in advance. Finance. If bridge financing is required, it might be available from a number of sources. Go for it. Don't be discouraged if you haven't successfully applied for other grant funding previously. Reach out to your CCAO for assistance. Think. Each organisation is unique. What projects would you like to do with the grant funding if you were successful? How will that tie into the grant funding themes and evaluation criteria? Quotes. Get as many specific quotations as possible to maximise the value for money. Project manage. You will need to oversee all the works carried out by suppliers. Traceability. Check with your CCAO as to what records you will need to keep to successfully draw down your grant. Team up. Can you partner with another local organisation? Many hands make light work. And community. Bring the community into your project. Your organisation can influence others to take action. I hope you have found this presentation useful. If you require assistance in your application for Phase 2 of the CCAP, or if you have any queries, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can email me at climateaction@wexfordcoco.ie or contact me on one of the numbers provided. You will find further information on the Climate Action section of Wexford County Council's website. There is a link to the webinar I mentioned in the previous slide, a copy of the CCAP information brochure, a frequently asked questions document, and a link to the application portal. Just a reminder, the application window for Phase 2 of the Community Climate Action Programme opens on Tuesday the 21st of October and will close at 5 p.m. on Tuesday the 16th of December 2025. Thank you and best of luck with your application.